Yeah, hi everyone. So let us recap the last session. So in the last session, we have discussed about static methods. So what is a static method and how to declare the static methods? So then we discussed about the inheritance. So basically inheritance means getting the properties of a parent to the child, like both properties and methods to child is called inheritance. Again, in the inheritance, so we have discussed about different types like single inheritance, multiple inheritance, and multi-level inheritance. So we have discussed about those concepts. So today let us discuss about what is hierarchical inheritance and what is hybrid inheritance. Then we'll discuss about what is method overriding. So after that, let us discuss about what is an abstract class and what is an abstract method, then how to implement the abstract methods. So now let us discuss examples for multiple inheritance and multi-level inheritance. I think we already discussed about multiple inheritance because the TypeScript doesn't support multiple inheritance because whenever two classes have same methods and with the different bodies, then there will be an ambiguity of which method to be given to the child class. So because of this ambiguity, TypeScript doesn't support multiple inheritance in the classes, but multiple inheritance can be achieved in interfaces. We'll discuss in detail how to achieve multiple inheritance in interfaces. So now let us discuss about a multi-level inheritance. I think we already discussed about the concept. So let us discuss some examples. So multi-level means, suppose here I declared a class employee which has some variables and methods. So now I created one more class developer. So developer extends employee. So in this case, in the employee class, there are two variables, number and string, and there is a method display employee information. So now I'm extending employee class to developer. So when I give developer extends employee, all the variables and methods of employee will be given to developer class. So in this case, the developer class will have two variables and two methods. So one variable, so these two variables come from employee class. That means the developer class will have three variables, employee ID, employee name, and programming language. So along with that, here we have a display employee information. So this method will be given to developer. Along with that, we will get one more method, that is developer info. So now the developer class has three variables and two methods. Now again, I'm inheriting developer class to senior developer. So in this way, if you keep on extending the classes one by one, this is called multi-level inheritance. So in this case, the senior developer class will get the variables and methods from both employee class and developer class. So in this way, if you extending as chains, so this is called multi-level inheritance. So TypeScript supports multi-level inheritance. So then there is a hierarchical inheritance. So what is mean by hierarchical inheritance? So the hierarchical inheritance looks like this. So suppose if there is a class A and if the class B extends A and class C also extend class A, this is called hierarchical inheritance. So single inheritance means if only one child class, one parent class, that is called single inheritance. But if same class is extended by multiple classes, that is called hierarchical inheritance. Suppose here, if I observe, I created a class employee. It has two instance variables and one display method. So then I'm extending because developer is a employee. So now I am extending employee class to developer. So in this case, all the variables and methods of employee will be given to developer. So in the same way, again, because tester is also an employee, so I'm extending employee to tester. So that means here the same employee class is being extended by multiple child classes. So this is called hierarchical inheritance. So TypeScript supports single, multiple, multiple doesn't support because due to ambiguity problem, multiple inheritance doesn't support in TypeScript. So it supports single inheritance multi-level inheritance, hierarchical, and hybrid. So what is hybrid inheritance? So hybrid inheritance means, so here there is a class B and class C. Class B is extending class A, and now there is a class D. Class D is extending class B and class C. So this is called hybrid inheritance. Okay. But anyway, hybrid inheritance is also not supported because uh, TypeScript doesn't support multiple inheritance. So here, class B is extending class A, and class C is extending class C. Class C is extending class A. So this is called hierarchical inheritance, and this is multiple inheritance. So we already know that hierarchical inheritance is supported by TypeScript, but multiple inheritance is not supported. So the combination of hierarchical and multiple inheritance we call as hybrid, but this is not supported in TypeScript because multiple inheritance is not supported. So this is all about inheritance. So now let us discuss what is method overriding. I think in the previous sessions we discussed about method overloading. So method overloading means you can have multiple methods with the same name but with the different signature. So that is called method overloading. So in method overloading, though you have multiple methods, but you can implement only one method. So now let us discuss about what is method overriding. So let us take one example here. Yeah. So here I created a class employee, and the employee class is having two variables like employee ID, employee name, and I'm defining a constructor so to set the values. Then there is a method display employee information. Okay. So it is simply printing the employee information. So now let me change this to display. Just I'm changing this to display because the use of this display method is simply it is going to print the information of an employee class. So whatever the employee class variables it has, it will simply print that information. So now, so when I extend employee to developer class, so here you have an extra variable programming language. So along with that, you also get employee identity, employee name to developer class. So and we need to set the constructor because the developer class has an extra variable programming language. So you need to initialize this programming language. So we just created a constructor. So inside the constructor, we have declared this programming language. So I'm calling this super because uh, to to call this constructor, we are using this super keyword. So this constructor will set the three variables: employee ID, employee name, and programming language. So now here the same display method will be given to developer as well because you are extending employee class to developer class. So this is an inheritance. So in the inheritance, you will get the parent class variables and methods to the child class. So in this case, so these two variables, employee ID and employee name given to developer class, and the display method will also be given to developer class. So now let me create a object. So now I would say let developer. So I'll give dev1 equal to new developer. So now I'll call this method display from the developer class. So let me run this. So let's see what it prints. So npx ts node. So yeah, it is in src folder inheritance. So then yeah, it is 001. So let me run this. So now here I'm calling display method using the dev1 object. So it should call the method from the dev class. But in the developer class, we don't have the display method. But we are able to call that because you are extending employee class here. So whatever the body that is available for display method, the same will be given to developer class. So that is the reason you see here. It is displaying employee ID and employee name. But here in the developer class, I can also see one more variable programming language. So now, whenever I call the display method, along with the employee ID and employee name, I also wanted to print the programming language. Okay. Because I want to print the programming language data as well. But here, you are getting only display method to a developer. So it has only two variables printed. So that is the reason we are getting two values. But now I want to print this programming language as well. So in that case, what I can do is the same display method you can get here. So now what is the additional variable that I want to print here? Programming language. So now I'll write one more print statement, that is console log, and I'll try to print this. So I would say this dot programming language. So now let me run this. So now if I run this, it will print the display method from the developer class. So now you should see the values of three variables printed to console. So this is employee ID, employee name, and programming language. So yeah, so this is called method overriding. So what is mean by method overriding? So whatever the parent class method that you got to the child class, that is not sufficient to the needs of your child class. In this case, the display method, the body that whatever we got from the parent class, only employed and employed name, we got these two statements. But that is not sufficient to developer class because there is additional information that I want to incorporate this in this display method. Since the parent class method definition is not sufficient to the child class, so here we have overridden the body of the parent method. So in this way, redeclaring the parent class method in the child class with a different body is called the method overriding. So in this case, the same display method we are redeclaring the developer class, which is a child class, and we have written the body specific to the developer class. So this is called method overriding. And if you observe here, these two statements we are already getting from the parent class, that is from display method from the parent class. So now I can directly use this instead of again writing these two lines of code. So now what I would do is I would say super.display. So as we discussed earlier, super is a keyword which will help you to call the parent class constructors or parent class methods. So in this case, the moment I call super.display, it will call the parent class method, this display, and here we'll get employee ID and employee name. Then additionally, I need to print programming language. So I'm only specifically writing that code, that piece of code. So this is called method overriding. So defining the parent class method in the child class and redefining the body is called method overriding. And make sure that the display method name, return type, everything should be same in the child class. So this is called method overriding. So now let me do one thing. So again, so yeah, I'll create one more object for the tester class. So I would say tester1 equal to new tester. So then it will call from the child class. This is child class object, that is tester class. So in this way, like you can create any number of objects depending on the requirement. So now this is called method overriding. And one more thing here is, so as of now, I am assigning child class reference to child class object. So new developer, it will create a child class object. And here I am assigning child class reference. So apart from this, I can also do like this. I would say let, so dev2, what is of type employee equal to new developer. I would say dev2 dot display. So here I'm creating the child class object and assigning the child reference. Here I'm creating the child class object, assigning the parent reference. So here, if I call the display method, so here what I'm doing is, so instead of creating the child class here we created a child object, but we did not assign the child reference. Here we assign the child reference. But here we assign the parent class reference. So now let me run this. I think in both the cases, you will get the body from the child class itself. So this will give you body from the child class. So that is a display method. And this will also do the same thing. Okay. But here the difference is here you will have access for only the parent class methods. Suppose now I'll declare one more method display to, let's say. So display2 will not be available here. So dev2.display2 is not available because display2 is specific to your child class. So whenever I create an object for child class, and if you assign the reference of parent class, then this will behave like a parent object. Okay. Because here for the child object, I have assigned the parent reference. So if you assign the parent reference, it will behave like a parent class object. If you assign the child class reference, then it will behave like a child object. And here I am calling dev1.display method. Here I am calling dev2.display method. So now here, based on the object, it will decide which method to call. So this is called runtime polymorphism because the same display method behaves differently based on the situation. So suppose if I call using the parent object, it will behave differently. If you call using child object, it behaves differently. And one more thing, this display method, which display method needs to be called? Here, I'm giving the parent class reference and it is calling from the child class here. And here I'm giving the child class reference. It is calling the object from the child, the method from the child class. So here the method which needs to be called will be decided during the runtime. So this is we call as runtime polymorphism. So basically method overloading, which we discussed earlier, that is called static polymorphism or compile time polymorphism. Whereas this method overriding, this is called runtime polymorphism. So why we call this as runtime polymorphism? Because the which method needs to be resolved, that will be resolved at the runtime. So which method needs to be called? Is that from parent or child? So this will be decided during the runtime. So that is why we call this as a runtime polymorphism or dynamic polymorphism. So this is all about inheritance. So we have discussed about single inheritance and multiple. So multiple is not supported in TypeScript. Then we discussed about multi-level and hierarchical. Then hybrid. So multiple and hybrid both are not supported in TypeScript. So this is all about inheritance. So now let us discuss about abstract classes and abstract methods. So let me create a new folder. So abstract class. So before defining an abstract class, let us understand what is an abstract method and what is a concrete method. So if you declare a method with the body, that is called concrete method. I think so far whatever the methods that we have declared, all those methods are concrete methods because all the methods that we have declared so far has the body. So if I take this these classes, so here we have display method. In the employee class, we declare a display method. This display method has body. So this is a concrete method. So again, I think we have written few more. In the calculator class, we have declared add method, multiply method. So these two methods are having body. So any method that has the body, that is called concrete method. So what is an abstract method? So abstract is a method which doesn't have any body. We only define the signature, but will not do any implementation. So such kind of methods we call as abstract methods. So how the syntax of abstract methods looks like? So the abstract methods syntax looks like this. So we need to use a keyword abstract method name and give the parameters if any. Right. So it will not contain any body actually. So this is an example of abstract method. So here So you need to use abstract keyword. So you need to use the abstract keyword and provide the method name and parameters and return type. So you need to also provide the return type, and we don't implement the abstract method. So there will be no body for the abstract methods. So any method which is declared with an abstract keyword and without any body, that is called abstract method. So now there are certain rules for declaring an abstract method. So because an abstract method you cannot declare in a normal class. So if you want to use abstract method, you should use an abstract class. So now, so the first thing is, so abstract methods can be created only in abstract class. So shortly we'll discuss about why we should create an abstract class. Let us discuss first the properties. So abstract methods can be created only in abstract class. And so abstract methods should be implemented in the child class. And there is another property. So you cannot create an instance or object. Abstract classes cannot be instantiated. Okay, so these are the properties of an abstract class. So the first properties. So if you want to declare an abstract methods, that you can define an abstract method only in abstract class. And if you define a class as an abstract, then any abstract method should be implemented in the child class. And abstract classes cannot be instantiated. So these are the properties of an abstract class. And so an abstract class can contain both abstract and concrete methods. So abstract class can have both abstract and concrete methods. So these are the rules of an abstract class. So what are the rules? So an abstract method can be created only in abstract class, and abstract methods should be implemented in the child class. Abstract classes cannot be instantiated. So cannot be instantiated means you cannot create an object. So abstract classes can have both abstract and concrete methods. So here we are discussing that we cannot create an object for an abstract class. And also the abstract method should be implemented in the child class. Then what is the purpose of creating an abstract class? Because if I am not able to create an object for abstract classes, then what is the purpose of having an abstract class? So let us consider one use case. So now I'll take a car. If you take any car, it should follow some prototype. So a car should have four wheels, and a car should have engine, it should have gears, it should have brakes, it should have seats. So this is the structure of a car. If you take any car, that car should implement these features. So generally, the abstract classes are used to define the prototypes. Again, if you take any like house, if I take, so any house, if you want to call something, or if you want to implement a house, every house should have a kitchen. It should have a hall. It should have a bedrooms and washrooms. So that is the structure of a house. If someone builds a three-bedroom, or if someone builds a two-bedroom, so just that the structure should be same. You should define a prototype. Similarly, abstract class is a class which will define the prototype. Whoever uses that prototype, they should implement these features. So that is what an abstract class is used for. In the same way, I'll create a car, which is an abstract class. I'll define the prototype. Like a car should have speed. It should have four wheelers. It should have a brand name. So like that, I'm going to define a prototype of a car. So it should have a max speed. It should have a car should be able to start. It should be able to stop. Like that, I'll define the prototype of a car. So whatever the car it implements, it should have the same features implemented, but the implementation can be different. So that is what the use of an abstract class. Simply you can define a prototype using the abstract class. So let us define a class. So now I'll create a class car. So car is a class here. So now I'll declare a class car, and the car should have following variables. Yeah. So the car should contain following variables and methods. So now I'm defining a variable fuel type because every car should have some fuel type. So now I'll define abstract read only fuel type. So fuel type should be of type string. So now if you want to declare any abstract variables or abstract methods, the class should be abstract. You just def declare a keyword abstract. So now car is a class which is an abstract. So if you want to make a class as an abstract class, simply give this abstract keyword, then this class become an abstract class. In this case, car is an abstract class, and I wanted to have following variables here. So one is brand. So it is of type string, car brand. So then I want to declare model. So model. So it is of type string. Okay. So now I have declared car brand and model. Now I need to initialize them. How you can do that? We need to use the constructor. So using constructor, we need to initialize them. So now I'll declare brand and model. So we have declared the variables. So two instance variables we have declared. Now we need to set those values. I would say this dot string brand equal to brand and this dot model equal to model. I'm setting this. So this is one way how you can set, or this can be replaced like this. Both are same. I think this we discussed in the constructor class. So instead of writing this much of code, I can directly define like this. So both are same. So I remove from here. Okay. And also I'll remove from here. So both are same. So you declare the instance variables, set them inside the constructors. That is same as this. Directly define as public inside the constructor declaration. So both are equivalent. So this will also initialize this brand and model. So as of now, we have a car class. There is a variable fuel type, which is of type abstract. So if I declare this as an abstract, then it should be assigned with the value in the child class. So apart from this, I'll write some methods. So like start, every car should have a start method because you need to start a car. So now I'll give like car started. So now I'll create one more method, stop. So I would say car stopped. So these two are concrete methods because I have defined the body. Now I'm creating one more method. So the method name is max speed, abstract max speed of type number. So now why I did not implement max speed? Because if I write the body for the max speed, let's say 100, but that is not going to be applicable for all the cars. So car is a generic term or it is a prototype. There are different kind of cars like Honda cars. Again, you have Ferrari cars. The speed of Honda car is let's say 150. If you take the Ferrari car, it may be 250 or 300 kilometer per hour. So now if I define the body here, and if I extend this class, this body may not be applicable in the child classes. So that is why it is like a prototype. So we just declare the methods and the implementation will be given to the child classes. So now I'll take a Honda or a petrol car. Petrol car is a type of car. So now I'll create a class petrol car extends car. Okay. So because as I told you, so whatever the abstract methods you have declared in the parent class, these abstract methods must be implemented in the child class. So here start and stop, you don't need to explicitly implement them in the child class. So only abstract methods are mandatory to implement in the child class. Start and stop, these are concrete methods. So the moment I say petrol car extends car, all the variables and methods will be given to the petrol car, which is a child class. But concrete methods you don't need to implement, but you must have to implement the abstract methods because this is the prototype. So these two methods body anyway will get to petrol car, which is a child class. But abstract method you did not implement here. This should be implemented in the child class. So now I'll implement this only the max speed. So it is of type number. So we need to override here. I would say return 150. So this is the maximum speed. Apart from this, I think you need to initialize this also because you have declared this in the parent class. So now what is the fuel type here? I'll give petrol. So remove abstract here because you already declared abstract in the parent class. So now you have to assign the value. So now let me create an object here. So for petrol car, some object equal to new petrol car. So what are the parameters you need to pass? So and I need to set, I need to create the constructor here and we need to set this petrol, this variable also we need to set. I think this is already set. We just need to call the constructor. That's it. So now let me call this constructor because since you are extending the car class, you need to implement the constructor. So brand name, model. So I would say super of brand and model. So now I don't need to initialize fuel type inside the constructor because you already assigned the value here as petrol. Since this is already assigned, it will not enforce you to initialize in the constructor because I already did here. If you don't initialize here, then it will ask you to implement. So, but we already assigned the value, so it is not complaining. So now I created an object here. So brand I'll give Honda and let's say model I'll give as 2026. So I'll give let some object equal to petrol car. So let me run this. So now, so I would say Honda XUV. Let's say this is my object name. So dot. So I'm able to get all the variables and methods from parent and child. So brand I got, fuel type and max speed, model, start and stop. So the max speed was implemented in the petrol car. This class we have implemented because there is an abstract method which we got from the parent. So this method should be implemented in the child class. So we have done that here in the petrol car. And fuel type also we have assigned the values. So now when I create an object for the petrol car, which is a child class, it can access the method from parent as well as child. So now in the same way, so based on your requirement, you can implement the abstract class by any number of child classes. So now I'll create one more. Here I'll implement electric car. Okay. So yeah, I'll give 200. So like that, based on the class that you implement, you can implement the abstract methods. So I think hope you are clear with the abstract class. So abstract class can have both abstract methods as well as concrete methods. We usually use abstract classes for defining the prototype. So you can define the prototype. Whichever the classes implements the abstract classes, those methods must be implement the those prototype. So that's the reason this max speed has been implemented by petrol car and also electric car. So the petrol car will implement max speed specific to petrol car, and electric car implement this method specific to electric car, because this is an abstract method. This must be implemented in the child class. So now here we created an object for the child class. Now let us try to create an object for the class car. Let's see what happens. So let car equal to new car. I'll give, yeah, brand name is test. Model is 2028, let's say, 2005, let's say. So it's giving an error. Why I am getting an error? Because let's see what is the error. Cannot create an instance of an abstract class. So as I told you, you cannot create an object for the abstract classes. So you can only create an object for the child classes. You can implement the abstract class, and object can be created only for the child classes. Yeah, so this is all about the abstract classes. I think in interviews, you might face these kind of questions like what is the inheritance and why multiple inheritance is not supported in TypeScript. You may get that question. And also, mostly they will ask about these abstract classes and interfaces. So anyway, about the interfaces, we will discuss in the next session. So we have discussed about multiple inheritance. In TypeScript classes, multiple inheritance is not supported. So since multiple inheritance is not supported, so we can achieve that in interfaces. So in the tomorrow session, we'll discuss about the interfaces.